All right, welcome everyone. This is Dr. Clark, the Center for Weight Loss Success. And today in Losing Weight USA, we're going to talk about some characteristics that make it hard to lose weight. And we'll get into some of these and some of the solutions for them as well. Welcome to Losing Weight USA, real-time answers to your weight loss questions, some of the latest updates and research, as well as a little bit of expert advice. Gives you direct access not only to me, but you should be receiving the health tips and recipes via the membership portal. And I encourage you, get into the membership portal. Each one of these webinars is going to last about 30 minutes or so. If you have questions, type them into the chat box as we go along. We'll get to them at the end. If you think of things once we're all done, just give us a yell here at the Center for Weight Loss Success. The email is success@cfwls.com. Phone number 757-873-1880. All right, very good. Let me get the slides flipped over. There we go. So again, we're talking about some characteristics that tend to make it difficult to lose weight. Now, thin people and overweight people often may think very differently. There are certainly some common personal characteristics that tend to make weight loss more difficult. So we're going to review some of these characteristics and begin about how to address them. The resource for this, and I've brought this resource up a number of different times in our Losing Weight USA webinars, is the Beck Diet Solution and the Diet Trap Solution. Both of these are written by Dr. Judith Beck, who's a PhD, does a lot of behavior change things. And these specifically are kind of ways, they're not really diet books of what to eat. It's more of how do you change your behavior. And so these things do kind of often, and literally any change in our life requires us to change, to do some sort of behavior change. And this is really no different than that. So first characteristic out there is kind of, you confuse hunger with a desire to eat. Those are two different things. Thin people often have an easier time differentiating between those two things. True hunger and just a desire to eat. And unfortunately, many of us then label any desire to eat as hunger. And the two things are different. Okay, literally, we walk into a store and you see a bakery, and you have this nice fresh smell coming at you of all the different bakery smells, and subsequently, hey, we want to eat. Okay, before that, there was no desire to eat. So the difference between true hunger and kind of a desire to eat, they're two different things. And so the bottom line is that yes, we do need to learn to differentiate between the two. So it really comes down to paying attention to how your stomach feels kind of before and after meals, right? Kind of what am I actually feeling there? And experiment. I do encourage people to do this experiment. Experiment by purposely making yourself hungry. Kind of put off that next meal. Actually get hunger. Recognize true hunger. I think a lot of us really don't recognize true hunger. It's just we have the desire to eat, but we eat frequently enough that are we really that hungry? And sometimes we need to be reminded of kind of what is true hunger. And so that's where kind of putting in, and I'm a big fan of intermittent fasting. But one of the nicest things with intermittent fasting is realizing that hunger, one, is not a life, it's not a life-threatening response or anything like that. It's just, no, it's hunger. That's all it is. And if we ignore it or if we put it off, it's hunger. It actually tends to go away over time. So experiment kind of by purposely putting off the meal and learning to recognize hunger. All right, characteristic number 2 is you may have a low tolerance for hunger and cravings. Okay, and this is a little bit different than the previous one. A low tolerance. Okay, and again, going back to that fasting kind of discussion, is that one of the greatest things about fasting, it teaches us to of hunger tolerance. Is that hey, hunger is not life threatening. It's like no, well, we can tolerate hunger just fine. Um, Thin people tend to not dwell on hunger or cravings. And maybe, yeah, I'm hungry, but so what? Okay, I'm going to eat eventually. I know I'm not going to starve to death. Okay, as opposed to many people will then, gee, if they have a hunger, now it turns into hangry. And many people tend to view hunger and cravings as emergencies. I must eat now, and there's really no emergency right there. So people, starvation is different. Being hungry is something else. Okay? So the solution there is refocusing your attention. Refocusing your attention to something else, and it requires a learned skill. What can I do differently? Hunger tolerance improves with practice. Just like I often talk about willpower being a muscle. So willpower, some people say, gee, I have no willpower. Well, everybody has willpower. It's just that how well do we have it developed? And part of that is tolerance, kind of working on that hunger tolerance. It improves with practice. All right, characteristic number 3 is you like the feeling of being full. Okay, and most of us do. Okay, some of us have a harder time feeling full, though. But if you like the feeling of being full, you may be concerned that, gee, if you're a little bit hungry, and that, oh, it's going to take too much to actually get full. And that's a concern. And it's like, gee, am I going to get hungry for my next meal? And again, I would encourage you to go with that. Okay. But you may then instead feel deprived if you don't eat as much as you would like. If you don't eat as much during that meal, it's like, gee, am I going to be hungry later? And it's kind of that fear of hunger too. And so it tends to lead to then is that you grow accustomed to feeling that overfullness. It's like you become comfortable with that overfullness. And you're going to realize, hey, this really tastes good. It's a special occasion. Show appreciation for the host. All these different reasons that we may feel like it's better to overeat. And the real solution here is just realizing that satisfaction is different than full. And literally, if you could quantify that difference, it's a good 25% being satisfied versus being full. Being satisfied is like, yeah, I've eaten enough, I'm good. Okay. Full was that sensation, hey, I can't put in more. The difference again is about 25% there. All right, characteristic number 4, and this is a common one, is that you tend to fool yourself about how much you actually eat. You know, how many times do I hear, well, I don't eat very much. I eat almost nothing. And some of that may be real, okay, but some of that may be, hey, if I'm not fully conscious of what I'm doing, it's okay to keep eating. It's those, gee, I walk by the pantry and I grab a couple of M&Ms, or I have a cookie, or I have those little extra licks, the nibbles, the crumbs, and we often think they don't count. Okay, well, they do count. Your body's counting. And you're really, especially in a weight loss plan, you need to have that every bite counts mentality. And that's a skill that has to be learned and then practiced each day. It's kind of, okay, we need to keep track. And, you know, what's the best, one of the best ways to help keep track of this? Okay, journaling. You know, I probably need to say that sometime during this discussion anyway, is that journaling is one of the best tools to figure that out. And making sure that, hey, I write everything down. Just the fact that you want to write everything down will typically change your behavior, because, gee, I don't want to write that down. I may not eat that. Okay? So you do need to have that every bite counts mentality, especially getting started in a weight loss plan. And then practice that skill. Write it down, journal it. All right, characteristic number 5. And this is also another common one, is that you comfort yourself with food. Okay, food is often a comfort situation there. Thin people almost never do this. Okay, they typically don't comfort themselves with food. Certain foods certainly do kind of produce those feel-good chemicals, kind of the serotonin, the dopamine response there is kind of, hey, those feel-good chemicals come out, but they tend to be very, very temporary. And then you still haven't really addressed the original problem. And typically that temporary feel-good gives way to, hey, I'm feeling even worse after that. And just realize that the temporary part of that is exactly that. It's temporary. Those feel-good chemicals, very short lasting. But comforting yourself with food, almost never done by really thin people. Very commonly done by those of us who struggle with weight. So the solution here is kind of, okay, if you comfort yourself with food, is kind of, you need different techniques, relaxation and distraction techniques, whether it be deep breathing, your mantra out, yoga, relaxation techniques, warm bath, scented candles, whatever it is, something that helps you relax, something that potentially distracts, okay? Whether it be going to brush your teeth, doing your nails, doing, cleaning the house, whatever it is. And then subsequently also use and figure out problem-solving techniques. We all can guess, I talk about these situations, these problem situations come up over and over and over again. It's not like they're a unique situation. Typically, they're not a unique situation. What's unique is those really rare ones that occur out there. But usually we can predict kind of what are the situations where this is going to be a problem. And so then it's easier to kind of look at, okay, what am I going to do instead? And list off those different possibilities. Try these different problem-solving techniques. If it doesn't work as well as you'd like it to, try something else. It's kind of it's a work in evolution, man. It's like use the relaxation, distraction techniques, problem solve this type of thing, and subsequently then figure out what works best for you. And there isn't a right and a wrong about, this situation or this technique works for this situation. For everyone, it'll be a little bit different, and you have to kind of figure that out. All right, characteristic number 6 is you tend to feel helpless and hopeless when you gain weight, okay? And literally weight fluctuates up and down, okay? Day to day, it fluctuates up and down. Again, I'm a big fan of weigh yourself daily type of thing. And it's the best way to kind of keep a close monitor of what things that I do, what do I eat that affect your weight the most. And if you can figure those things out, it makes it a lot easier in the long run. But the only way to do that is to weigh yourself routinely. Daily is the best way to do that. Early morning is the most accurate way. All right, so weigh yourself routinely and realize that you should not have that this is the end of the world mentality. Okay, if you have that, the end of the world mentality, then it's like literally you're going to be restarting a weight loss plan over and over and over and over and over and over again. Okay, thin people tend not to see this as a catastrophe. And they tend to have faith in their ability to make good decisions. Like, yeah, I can do this. I may have slipped a little bit up here, but I can do this. I'll make better decisions and I will do this differently next time. And they also tend to follow through with those decisions. So it is something like, yes, I need to realize that this is happening. And subsequently, then what will I do differently? So the solution then is you need to learn from your eating mistakes. It's like we do it all the time. Okay, and kind of recommit then when we do this. So it's not like we throw it away. It's like, no, I need to recommit. I need to figure out better techniques to know how to combat this. And when you do that, then your confidence is going to grow. That, hey, I can do this. So I can do this. I've proven that I can do this. All right, characteristic number 7. Is sometimes we tend to, and we sometimes want to, is focus on issues of unfairness. Okay, that it's not fair. It's not fair. Okay, well, life isn't fair. Okay, get over that. Okay, if you frequently wonder how unfair it is that others can seemingly eat anything they want to, but you can't. I do that, I'm going to gain weight like crazy. It's not fair. And you're right, it's not fair. But that's the way it is too. And so this is often that thinking, that thought process of it's unfair often leads you to stray. And then we tend to give up on this diet plan. So the solution here is that it's certainly natural to compare what you're eating to others. It is natural to do that. But just realize it's not actually helpful though, okay? Because you're not others. You're yourself, and that's the way it is. So you need to accept this, and you have to kind of reap the rewards of losing the weight. And if you accept this, you will. So kind of don't compare yourselves to others. It just isn't helpful. It's a natural thing to do, but you're not others. Characteristic number 8 is, and this is another common one, basically we stop dieting once you lose weight. So the significant difference between people who keep weight off and those yo-yo dieters is that the yo-yo dieters, typically they stop dieting as soon as they lost the weight. And a more healthier thing is like, I'm going to continue dieting. I want this to be a lifestyle. So maintainers do so because they have changed what they actually do. Okay? They've lost the weight, they maintain that weight loss because they actually change what they do. And they change how they think about food and how they think about eating. So you do, certainly a solution here is you need to learn and master the skills of how to motivate yourself to use those skills then in the future. So you need to learn from our mistakes, figure out potential solutions, and then subsequently then use those to continue this down the road. Okay? So once you learn these skills, eating healthier becomes much easier. Okay? And again, don't stop. Okay, it's kind of something that has to be a lifestyle change forever. And one of the nice things with going off topic here for a minute is some of these newer injectable medications is they actually help with making some of these decisions because they turn off some of the brain in that, gee, I'm obsessing about food. I'm thinking about what my next meal is going to be, what I would like to eat. Some of these newer injectables, because they work so well on the brain, is that typically people often don't think or they don't obsess about that thinking about food. They typically, hey, I just don't think about it so much anymore. And everything about dieting becomes so much easier if we can turn off that obsession about food. And some of these newer weight loss injectable medications actually can help do that fairly significantly, which can be extremely helpful, especially with these kind of characteristics that I just talked about. All right, so yes, these characteristics we just talked about are very common, but you can learn to change them. And if you can change them, you not only lose the weight, but helps keep that weight off permanently. And that's part of kind of why I always come back to kind of our different programs that we have out there. Our My Weight Loss Academy is a medical program, a weight management university, which we did for surgery. We also have a medical program with that too. But the My Weight Loss Academy, and again, get into the membership site. That's kind of what we have in there. Is kind of helps with doing this, changing this mentality, changing this mindset. And they're designed specifically help you accomplish these things. And it's going to change these eating behaviors there. But again, there's nothing magic about any one medication. Medication certainly help do this, but you still have to do the right things. All right. Question. I don't see any questions sitting out there at the moment, but if you have questions, don't hesitate. Pick up the phone, send us an email, send us a text. You can walk in the door, whatever. Okay. You want more information about the injectable medications? Just pick up the phone and call us, tell your friends, whatever. Okay. All right. So if you think of questions, please, just stop by, especially if you're stopping by, get your body comp done. Again, you should be logging into the membership portal. We put all the weight loss tips as well as the weekly recipes in there. And then tune in each Tuesday, 12:15 for the next webinar. Watch your email for the invite and link. And remember, it's your life. Make it a healthy one. Have a good day, everyone. Take care.